Welcome back to the Fanspeak Network and another episode of breaking down the rookies that we are targeting in early best ball drafts. That's right. Best ball season is here. We've covered 5 rookies so far, and we're covering 5 more this week. So today we are talking about receiver Jayden Higgins from Iowa State, who's drafted in the second round to the Houston Texans. Steve, take it from there.
So as you mentioned, Jayden Higgins, early second round pick from Iowa State, drafted by the Houston Texans. He profiles he's a big receiver, could also work as a big slot, but he can play outside. That's probably where the Texans view him, given their other draft investment in the other Iowa State receiver, Jalen Noel. And but he gives them a very similar skill set to Nico Collins. Can be a big outside receiver, big body, excel in the red zone. He's fast enough to split defenders and get vertical, but he's really going to live in the intermediate area and just be a big chain mover, pick up first down after first down. And I think he's a pretty quality route runner, and that is why I'm fairly bullish on him and believe that even in playing behind an alpha like Nico Collins, he can still have a nice fantasy role as a rookie. The Texans invested high in him. They want more weapons for their young franchise quarterback, CJ Stroud, and they got one here in Higgins. And I think we're going to see him hit the ground running, be the starter in 2 wide receiver sets, and just always be a major focal point of the Texans offense right behind Nico.
Well, you talked about, obviously, first of all, let me talk about our best ball subscription quickly, and then we'll go back to Jayden Higgins. The best ball subscription we just launched, is $34.99 a year, entire year. You get access to Steve and I's rankings, and not just the classic contests, Underdog, DraftKings, Drafters, and soon we will have Marathon, Sprint, Eliminator rankings as well. Of course, sub-only content. We will have sub-only shows on YouTube twice a month, and we will have 3 to 4 articles on the Substack that our strategy, player takes about these different contests. Steve and I wrote all these articles on Fanspeak last year, and honestly, it was the reasons we were so successful. So we hope you will join us this year. Join the family, $34.99 per year. Link is in the description of this show. Okay. Now, with that said, Steve, I am adding, the rankings, and let's take a look at where Higgins is going right now. He is ADP 100. I think you have him ranked right around there in your rankings, which of course is on the Best Ball Substack. So kind of talk about the, guys he's going around. He's right after Mbuka, another rookie in a more, in a very crowded room there, Josh Downs. And then the other rookie, Trey Harris, is literally right underneath him. And then Michael Pittman. So talk about why you like Jayden Higgins. You talked about him being a starter in 2 wide receiver sets. Speak a little more about why you like him from an ADP perspective.
Yeah, and honestly, I have him ranked above Mbuka. Mbuka maybe went, 15 plus picks, 16 picks ahead of him, but Mbuka is going to be firmly behind Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and it's hard. It's going to be hard for him to garner a larger role in that offense. Texans have multiple options behind Nico Collins, including fellow rookie and 3rd rounder Jalen Noel and veteran Christian Kirk, but Higgins has every opportunity to be that number 2 guy, and his size and skill set should allow him to be in those 2 wide receiver sets, just making it even easier for him to be second on the team in targets.
Right.
I think that, we talked about Trey Harris before, and it's a very similar situation where, in Harris's case, the alpha is Ladd McConkey. In Higgins' case, the alpha here is Nico Collins, but the team is openly and widely looking for a clear number 2. And I think both Higgins and Harris fill these roles, and that's why I like them in this area. And, I don't mind following them up the board as their ADP rises throughout the summer. If we start getting more and more clear indication he's firmly locked in the number 2 role, starting in 2 wide receiver sets, I think it's sky's the limit for a guy like Higgins, who also, just has that size to, if we see Stroud have like a 30 plus touchdown year, Nico's going to have, his 10 to 12, but Higgins could be right behind him. So that's why I'm really bullish about Higgins with the new offense coordinator. better offensive line. We know Stroud is a good young quarterback. So there's just a lot of upside here to trying to exploit. And, the two of the other receivers on this list, the Colts receivers, their quarterback situation is nowhere near as positive. And even when you go a little higher, it's guys like
Ayuk, Cooper Cup,
from
older
veterans
or
or
injured.
injuries.
Shakir, more floor play. Jayden Reed, another crowded room. So it's kind of mixed in with other rookies and then some vets that are either coming off injury or just aging vets too.
So that's why, in the right build, I think Higgins is a very strong upside play, and also an easy guy to stack with CJ Stroud. So easy guy to get a stack. You take Higgins here, come back Stroud, depending on where your next pick is. You can grab him as well. So I like that. And again, we do need to follow the investment the team made, and early second round pick. I think he was counting Travis Hunter, I think the 5th receiver off the board. So I think that speaks volumes.
So I assume you'd be interested, obviously, in any type of Texan stack too, whether you got Nico and then one to stack up Higgins and Stroud, or whether you got Mixon early and one to stack up Higgins and Stroud. You're just open to adding Higgins to any Texan stack, I assume.
Yeah, I think we saw 2 years ago how good this Texans offense can be with Stroud when you give him some protection and he has some weapons. Last year, just everything went wrong with the O-line, with his weapons all getting injured. And Higgins is a big reason why they invested so much into the position, because they want to make sure that, they always have weapons for Stroud. And even in the playoffs, you could see when Nico Collins was there, that's the only threat. And they need more. And that's why they made such a good, strong early investment into Jayden Higgins. And I think we should just follow that. The skill set's there, the role's there, the team is there, and the investment is there. So to me, it's wheels up to draft this guy and be aggressive about him, and really believe that, one, I think he will start all year, but especially as the year builds and grows in the second half, we could have a major breakout for a guy like Jayden Higgins.
Yeah, absolutely. Any final thoughts on Jayden Higgins, his ADP, who is going around, the value? I mean, you've kind of talked about, obviously, the skill set, the team, the ADP, the value, but any other final thoughts before we get out of here for this rookie episode?
Yeah, I mean, Higgins was very impressive in college, impressive throughout the pre-draft process. He kind of rose up from, at the start of the college season, may have been like a 4th round prospect, but he just dominated the year with Iowa State and kept rising. And like I said, being the 5th receiver overall, people talk about this being a weak class, but there were still a lot of guys in that 2nd, 3rd round mix. And he went ahead of a guy like Trey Harris. He went ahead of his teammate Jalen Noel. People weren't sure about that. He did. And again, I'm going to follow the investment, and I just like the team. I like CJ Stroud. I like the upside that we're getting here. We've seen it before from Stroud. We know how much he can elevate good receivers around him. He did back at Ohio State, and he's done it so far in the NFL.
Well, we have already done a Trey Harris episode, so I know for a fact that you like him as well. In regards to, and I know you have them ranked very closely, does it really just depend, especially as we get schedule news, is it really just depend on team or playoff correlations, or do you really have a strong case of one versus the other, since we've talked about both now?
I mean, I do think Herbert is a little better quarterback than Stroud. So if I'm looking for that kind of stack, that helps. I think both are very similar. They're in offenses that are going to want to run the ball, but when they go back to throw, they have good, capable quarterbacks to get the job done. So schedule is going to be a factor. I do think Higgins has a little bit more competition than Harris does.
Agree.
Not just from Lad McConkey versus Nico Collins, but just behind him, having Kirk, having Noel is a little bit more than Quentin Johnston or Mike Williams. And even tight end, Dalton Schultz is better than Will Dissly and Tyler Conklin. So, so that's a slight edge for Harris. But overall, I think this is very much a coin flip, and it's whatever. I went good, decent exposure to both. I'm going to be over 8% of both is my goal and my plan. But I'll probably be roughly a similar range, 15%-ish for both these guys.
Okay. Well, this is another rookie we've covered that we are targeting early in best ball drafts. And if we keep getting good news as camps go on, we'll probably keep targeting them in best ball drafts. So check out the whole rookie series on the Fanspeak Network. Be sure you're subscribed, notification bell on for the Fanspeak Network, and be sure to like this episode on your way out. Of course, it helps us. Drop a comment, what you think about Jayden Higgins. We do appreciate it. And again, link in the description if you're interested in our best ball subscription, just $34.99 a year. Rankings, articles, and sub-only shows. Steve, this has been fun. We keep checking out all the rookies. More are coming. So for Steve, I'm Meg, and we'll see you next time.